Drawing on the picture, which show a balance and which is the symbol of what we call the law. Because indeed, when we want to protect our cultural heritage, we are all facing with a balance to be made between the protection of cultural heritage and other things. Is that we are all here in the room because we love our cultural heritage, we love the ancient monuments, and we think, probably we are right, that everyone in Cambodia or everyone in my country, in Belgium, we love our cultural heritage. However, that cultural heritage here on the picture, you know what it is? It suffers from several dangers. One of them is the effect of time. Another potential danger for cultural heritage is armed conflict. As you can see on this picture, that happened in a World Heritage Site called Palmyra in Syria, which was destroyed by the war. Another danger which affects our cultural heritage is illicit traffic, and that covers thefts, illegal import and export, and clandestine excavations, which is when people, especially during the night, are digging the ground to take out precious cultural objects. Another danger that affects our cultural heritage are natural disasters. As you can see on this picture, the World Heritage Site of Ayutthaya in Thailand was severely flooded in 2011, and the national authorities in Thailand were in total panic because of that. Another case is earthquake, like this picture. But there are other dangers which are in fact actually affecting many World Heritage Sites, which is urban development, inappropriate new constructions, legal or illegal, public and private works, which for instance affect that city here in the picture, which is Kathmandu in Nepal, where many illegal constructions were actually affecting the integrity of the site. Another danger which affects the cultural heritage more and more nowadays is mass tourism. Too many people visiting a site in the same time can create potential danger for our cultural heritage. Another problem which we will speak during the third day, on Thursday, is the case of the underwater cultural heritage. This heritage is in particular in danger nowadays because it is not known. It is somewhere under the sea. It is very valuable, but we don't have the technology to go and protect it. But others may have the technology and steal it from us. So how to respond to these dangers that affect the cultural heritage? Who? Well, of course, it is the responsibility of governments, authorities in general. It is also the responsibility of professionals like us. We can be architects or archaeologists, managers, administrative staff, guards, teachers, drivers, whatever. But also, ultimately, every citizen. I mean, our families, if they are not working for cultural heritage, they are citizens of the country, and in a way or another, they also have a duty to protect that cultural heritage as citizens. Now, how a government can do to make sure that the protection of cultural heritage are actually ensured? In fact, by creating what we call in English two frameworks. What we call an institutional framework, which is, for instance, the Ministry of Culture, the Apsara Authority, the NAPV or the NASPK. These are institutions that can help preserving that heritage. But then there is a second framework, which in English we call legal framework, and which in common language we say the law. So actually, the two frameworks goes together. An institution like Apsara and the law, for instance, the royal decree for the protection of Angkor. Because we are going to speak about law for 3 days, I would like to give a little bit of terminology in English. In English, when we say law, it is first, it means a very broad term. It's a set of rules that says how people may and may not behave in the society. This is allowed, this is not allowed.
ពីច្បាប់នេះក្នុងរយៈពេល3ថ្ងៃក្នុងពេលសិក្ខាសាលានេះដូច្នេះហើយខ្ញុំចង់បញ្ជាក់អំពីខ្លឹមសារដើមនៃពាក្យថាច្បាប់នេះនៅក្នុងទីជំន័យរបស់ពាក្យថាច្បាប់គឺសំដៅទៅលើវិន័យឬក៏ច្បាប់ពួនដែលមនុស្សគួរធ្វើនិងមិនគួរធ្វើ
And there is often punishments, or in English we say also sanctions, for people who do not respect the law. So, law being a very broad term, in Cambodia it covers the national law, and we will hear later during presentations during these 3 days, but you also have international law applicable. That's why the title of this presentation was Importance of International and National Law to Protect our Cultural Heritage. Why do we need international law? Well, because actually when you think about the dangers like armed conflict, it's not enough that Cambodia protects its own cultural heritage. If the country is attacked by another country, that other country needs also to protect the cultural heritage. In the case of theft of cultural objects, like in this picture, what about if a stolen statue is found in another country? You will need international law to make sure that hopefully one day the object returns to Cambodia. In the case of natural disasters or earthquake, generally countries need to have the help of other countries to face this kind of very serious situation. Now, let us say a few words about the national law for cultural heritage. Actually, we will have during these 3 days several presentations made by Cambodian experts. We will introduce the national law, the Royal Decree of 1996, as well as the various royal decrees and sub-decrees which have been adopted in Cambodia for the protection of cultural heritage. I will not enter detail, but I am aware that in Cambodia there's a variety of law, including the Shpap, yes, the Priarich Kret, Anukret, Prakas, and even lower. Yeah. What is interesting to know is that in Cambodia in 1996 the royal decree concerning the law on the protection of cultural heritage was adopted by support from international expertise. So the law in Cambodia is quite modern and up to international standards. So if we compare it with other countries, for instance, in Thailand, they have a law from 1961. In Cambodia, you have a much more up-to-date legislation, law. The law covers what we call immovable cultural heritage, which are the monuments and sites, the movable cultural heritage, which are the cultural objects, and the underwater cultural heritage. That is called in English the tangible cultural heritage. Tangible means you can touch it, an object or a monument. But it doesn't cover the intangible cultural heritage, which is, for instance, performing art or songs or theater. Tangible heritage, not intangible heritage. Tangible heritage cứ chia về tình quan rụt bấy, nhưng mà intangible heritage cứ chia về tình quan ảo rụt bấy, chẳng về tình quan ảo rụt bấy, cứ sẵn tài lư về tình quan ngày miền ca mình ai bắt có bác đôi chia sơ lập bắt trùng đưa xem. Now the key issue, of course, and this is really very important, is that we in Apsara Authority, in NAPV, in NASPK, at the Ministry of Culture, we are paid, we are working for the protection of cultural heritage. But we live in a society, in a country, where people have other interests, like those on that list. Okay. We all want to protect the cultural heritage, but there are some other people who have other priorities. They want to protect their own business. They want to protect their private ownership, their land. They not necessarily goes together with the protection of cultural heritage. For instance, here in Kathmandu, we are in a World Heritage Site. But you cannot see it from the picture, because people have built their house just next to it. Their interest was to say, I want to protect my family and my income, and I'm going to build my shop, my business, at the place that I want. The protection of cultural heritage, it's not my business. It's someone else's business. So the interest between private individual business and collective business, like protection of cultural heritage, are opposed.
វត្តនៅទីក្រុងដែលมันមានបច្ចេកទេសត្រឹមត្រូវឲ្យមានការអភិរក្សច្បាស់លាស់ដូច្នេះហើយវាធ្វើឲ្យប៉ះពាល់ទៅដល់បេតិកភណ្ឌហើយរហូតដល់មានសំណង់រហូតទៅដល់ជើងនៃបេតិកភណ្ឌតែម្ដង
Another thing is armed conflict. The military, they see things differently than for the protection of cultural heritage. They want to win the war. They don't necessarily care about protecting cultural heritage. If they consider that it's important to use, for instance, this beautiful temple to put soldier and win the war, they will do. So the interest of winning the war and protecting cultural heritage are also opposed.
ករណីជាឧទាហរណ៍មួយទៀតគឺថាករណីនៅពេលដែលមានវិបត្តិសង្គ្រាមកើតឡើងអញ្ចឹងក្រុមយោធាគឺគាត់គិតអំពីការយកឈ្នះចាញ់ចឹងហើយពេលខ្លះគាត់អាចនឹងដាក់វិធាននៅក្នុងតំបន់បេតិកភណ្ឌតែម្ដងដើម្បីសង្គ្រាមរបស់គាត់ចឹងគាត់មិនបានគិតអំពីផលប្រយោជន៍នៃការថែរក្សាបេតិកភណ្ឌដូច្នេះហើយធ្វើឲ្យមានទស្សនៈខ្លាំងគ្នារវាងស្ថាប័នដែលអភិរក្សបេតិកភណ្ឌដល់ធំហើយនិងស្ថាប័នយោធាដូចជាករណីប្រសាទព្រះរាជរបស់យើងកាលពីឆ្នាំ2015
Tourism is another example. If you ask a travel agent or the owner of a hotel what is best for him or for her, he will say more and more tourists come. But this may be a problem for you as manager of a cultural heritage, because you will have to manage a growing number of visitors without having always the means to do that.
គឺករណីទេសចរណ៍ណាធំសម្រាប់ម្ចាស់សណ្ឋាគារឬក៏ភ្នាក់ងារផ្នែកឧស្សាហកម្មទេសចរណ៍គឺគេចង់បាននៅចំនួនទេសចរដែលបានច្រើនដើម្បីជាប្រយោជន៍ដល់ពួកគេប៉ុន្តែវាអាចរងផលប៉ះពាល់ទៅដល់បេតិកភណ្ឌវប្បធម៌
I am aware that in Cambodia you are facing with the situation of people and families who have lived for a long time in protected area, who now have children and grandchildren, and how these interests of the people are going to be balanced with the protection of cultural heritage.
ហើយខ្ញុំក៏បានដឹងដែរថាចំពោះករណីកម្ពុជាយើងមានប្រជាជនដែលរស់នៅក្នុងតំបន់ការពារហើយពួកគាត់ក៏មានកូនមានចៅកាន់តែច្រើនឡើងហើយគាត់ចង់ដឹងថាតើតុល្យភាពរវាងតម្រូវការរបស់ប្រជាជនកម្ពុជាជាដែលរស់នៅក្នុងតំបន់ការពារវាស័ក្តិសមជាមួយនឹងការការពារបេតិកភណ្ឌរបស់យើងដែរឬទេ
Public works, that's another issue. I know in Siem Reap you have a new airport now, but I remember that there has been many discussion over year about where the airport is going to be built because of the necessity of protecting Angkor cultural heritage, and the old airport was very close to it.
ហើយខ្ញុំក៏បានដឹងផងដែរថាតើតើទៅនឹងការសាងសង់នៅប្រទេសយើងថ្មីគឺរដ្ឋាភិបាលកម្ពុជាបានពិភាក្សាអស់រយៈពេលជាច្រើនឆ្នាំដោយសារតែតំបន់ការពាររបស់យើងក៏ធំហើយជាមានការសាងសង់ប្រយោជន៍ចំពោះដែលនៅជិតនឹងបេតិកភណ្ឌវប្បធម៌វិញ
So on that slide you have all these issues that I have summed up, these what we call interests that sometimes can be opposed to the interest of protecting cultural heritage.
ហើយនៅក្នុង slide នេះគឺជាការសំខាន់របស់ខ្ញុំដែលបង្ហាញអំពីការចង់បានផលប្រយោជន៍អំពីបេតិកភណ្ឌវប្បធម៌ដែលនេះអាចនឹងផ្ទុយស្រឡាញ់ឬក៏មិនឆ្លើយតបទៅនឹងកិច្ចការអភិរក្សវប្បធម៌
So that's why the symbol of law is this balance between two interests. And in fact, all law, national law or international law, when you read the text, you will find that there is often a balance between all these interests.
ដូច្នេះហើយនៅពេលដែលយើងនិយាយពីច្បាប់ដែលយើងមានរូបសញ្ញាជាជាផ្លូវនេះគឺត្រូវតែផ្លាស់ឲ្យស្មើឲ្យមានបរិយាភាពរវាងតម្រូវការរបស់ប្រជាពលរដ្ឋនៅក្នុងរបបបេតិកភណ្ឌជាមួយនឹងកិច្ចការពារថែរក្សាបេតិកភណ្ឌ
So it's very important that when a new law is drafted, to try to look at all these interests and see whether the law will be applicable.
ដូច្នោះហើយនៅពេលដែលយើងធ្វើការពង្រៀនផ្នែកច្បាប់យើងត្រូវតែពិនិត្យមើលឲ្យគ្រប់ជ្រុងជ្រោយនៅតម្រូវការរបស់ប្រជាពលរដ្ឋហើយធ្វើយ៉ាងណាឲ្យវាមានតុល្យភាពនឹងគ្នាដែលអាចច្បាប់នោះដាក់បានហើយអាចអនុវត្តបាន
Now another issue when a law is adopted, it is the case in Cambodia because Cambodia has a wide range of national laws. No need for new laws at this stage, but how to, what we call in English, implement the law, how to make it applicable with the existing human and financial resource, which are the staff and the money.
ដែលហេតុថាកម្ពុជាយើងមានច្បាប់ជាច្រើនមួយមកហើយដូច្នេះហើយមិនជាការចាំបាច់ក្នុងការបង្កើតច្បាប់ថ្មីទេប៉ុន្តែចំពោះច្បាប់ដែលមានស្រាប់នោះខាងតែយើងនឹងអនុវត្តច្បាប់នោះយ៉ាងណាដើម្បីឲ្យមានតុល្យភាពរវាងតម្រូវការរបស់ប្រជាពលរដ្ឋហើយនឹងកិច្ចការពារបេតិកភណ្ឌរបស់ប្រជាពលរដ្ឋ
And for that, that is the work of the manager. They have to imagine things so that they can protect their cultural heritage while in the same time keep within the budget and work with the staff they have.
យ៉ាងនេះហើយដែលជាកិច្ចការរបស់អ្នកគ្រប់គ្រងដើម្បីធ្វើឲ្យមានតុល្យភាពរវាងតម្រូវការរបស់ប្រជាពលរដ្ឋហើយនឹងកិច្ចការពារបេតិកភណ្ឌរបស់ខ្លួននេះឲ្យវាមានតុល្យភាពនឹងគ្នា
For instance, the second example of my slides, I put guarding of archaeological sites. In Cambodia, there are many archaeological sites. Some are big, some are very small. It's not possible to put a guard next to every archaeological site, especially if they are small and in the countryside.
តែហើយខាងកម្ពុជាយើងមានរមណីមានបេតិកភណ្ឌរបស់ជាច្រើនហើយបេតិកភណ្ឌមួយចំនួនគឺមានតូចនិងមានធំដូច្នោះហើយពេលខ្លះវាមិនជាការចាំបាច់ទេដែលត្រូវមានអ្នកថែអ្នកជាងនៅតាមប្រាសាទតូចៗនោះ
But there is the possibility of speaking to the local population, educating the population to make sure that no one in the village will actually have the idea to dig out the ground and steal some of the historic objects that still is under the ground.
ប៉ុន្តែត្រូវតែប្រកបថាគឺមិនមានការលួចពីសំណាក់ប្រជាពលរដ្ឋដែលនៅក្បែរប្រាសាទទេហើយត្រូវតែប្រកបថាកិច្ចការនេះត្រូវបានការពារ
Now to implement a law, one also have to have sanctions. That's what I mentioned in the beginning, the punishment or sanction, it's the same terms. But of course, for that, one have to have a prosecutor. I mean, the offense to the cultural heritage must be prosecuted.
ដូច្នេះហើយការដាក់ទណ្ឌកម្មផ្នែកផ្លូវច្បាប់ច្បាប់ពលរដ្ឋមាននៅពេលដែលយើងធ្វើការអនុវត្តច្បាប់ចំពោះបុគ្គលដែលបានបំពានច្បាប់នោះ
In many countries, it's very difficult to address that problem.
នៅក្នុងប្រទេសជាច្រើនចំពោះបញ្ហានេះគឺពិបាកក្នុងការធ្វើការឆ្លើយតបទៅលើបញ្ហានេះ
This head of an apsara was stolen many years ago. Nobody knows where it is now. Somewhere in the world.
ដូចជាករណីនៃអប្សរារបស់យើងក៏ដោយមានរូបអប្សរាដែលត្រូវបានគេលួចហើយនេះយើងមិនដឹងថានៅទីណាទេនៅក្នុងពិភពលោកនេះ
In fact, when we look at the protection of cultural heritage, there are actually many people who are directly or indirectly affected by the law protecting cultural heritage. As I mentioned, it can be private individual, like the people living next to a temple. It can be a community, a village. It can be private companies, a business, a shop, a hotel, a guest house.
នៅពេលដែលយើងនិយាយអំពីការថែរក្សាបេតិកភណ្ឌវប្បធម៌នៅក្នុងនោះក៏អាចមានជនមួយចំនួនដែលក្នុងនោះអាចជាសហគមន៍ឬក៏ជាអ្នកដែលមកពីឧស្សាហកម្មទេសចរណ៍ដែលធ្វើការមិនពេញចិត្តមានប្រតិកម្មចំពោះការច្បាប់នោះ
But it can be also other institutions, for instance, the police, the customs, the business associations, the temples. All these authorities, in a way or another, are directly or indirectly affected by the protection of cultural heritage.
ហើយវាក៏អាចមានករណីចំពោះដូចជាផ្នែកផ្សេងៗដូចជាប៉ូលីសដូចជាផ្នែកផ្សេងៗនៃអាជ្ញាធរដែលមានប្រតិកម្មចំពោះនៅការអនុវត្តច្បាប់
And therefore, it's important to have mechanism of exchange of information. I'm very happy here, for instance, that there are representatives of the local authorities of Siem Reap. This is very important. I see people from Heritage Police also. So it's very important that information about protection of cultural heritage is shared with as many different bodies as possible.
ដូច្នេះហើយចំណាយនេះដែលយើងមានវត្តមាននៅក្នុងថ្ងៃនេះខ្ញុំក៏រៀបរៀងផងដែរដែលយើងមកពីគ្រប់ស្ថាប័នទាំងអស់ដើម្បីទទួលបាននូវព័ត៌មានទាំងអស់នេះ
For instance, on the issue of theft and illicit traffic of cultural objects, it will never be possible for Cambodia to retrieve an object stolen from a monument if there is no collaboration from many institutions.
ជាក់ស្ដែងទៅបើសិនជាមានករណីលួចនៅសម្បត្តិវប្បធម៌នោះបើមិនមានការចូលរួមពីសំណាក់ស្ថាប័នផ្សេងៗទេគឺយើងមិនអាចចាប់បានទេពីពិសេសសម្រាប់ចាប់បាន
So I've listed on the picture here several mechanisms of exchange of information, which are the exchange of information, the collaboration, the coordination, the partnership, and training together. So these are things to think over often when we are managing cultural heritage.
ដូច្នេះហើយដែលខ្ញុំសង្កត់ធ្ងន់ទៅលើចំណុចទាំងអស់នេះនៅក្នុងពេលដែលយើងធ្វើការអភិរក្សបេតិកភណ្ឌវប្បធម៌នោះដូចជាការចែករំលែកនូវព័ត៌មានកិច្ចសហការបេក្ខសហប្រតិបត្តិការការចងគ្នាដៃគូនិងការបន្តបណ្ដារួមគ្នា
And this works also for international law. International law, this is related to agreement between countries.
ហើយនេះក៏ជាបទបង្ហាញនៃច្បាប់អន្តរជាតិផងដែរដែលត្រូវការចងក្រងរួមគ្នារវាងប្រទេសនិងប្រទេស
For instance, you may not be aware, but in 2000, Cambodia made an agreement, a treaty, with Thailand on the issue of illicit traffic of cultural objects, because too many objects were stolen from Cambodia and passed the border to Thailand and disappeared forever.
ជាឧទាហរណ៍កម្ពុជាយើងក៏ធ្លាប់មានបទពិសោធន៍រឿងនេះរួចហើយដោយសារតែយើងបានចុះសន្ធិសញ្ញារវាងប្រទេសថៃជាមួយនឹងកម្ពុជាដែលហេតុថាមានវត្ថុបុរាណមួយចំនួនត្រូវបានគេនាំចេញទៅប្រទេសថៃហើយយើងបានចងក្រងនៅសន្ធិសញ្ញានេះដើម្បីការពារផ្នែកច្បាប់អន្តរជាតិ
This is between two countries only, but it's still called international law.
នេះគឺជាកិច្ចសន្ធិសញ្ញារវាងប្រទេសពីរតែប៉ុណ្ណោះប៉ុន្តែក៏យើងនៅតែហៅថាច្បាប់នេះជាច្បាប់អន្តរជាតិ
But there are agreements between many countries, like the World Heritage Convention, which protects Angkor, Preavihir, and Sampo Precook.
ប៉ុន្តែក៏មានច្បាប់អន្តរជាតិផ្សេងៗទៀតដែរដែលចងក្រងរវាងប្រទេសជាច្រើនដែលយើងហៅថា International Convention.
These are the main conventions between many countries that currently cover the cultural heritage. The first one was adopted in 1954. It is the Hague Convention for the protection of cultural property in the event of armed conflict. And it has also two sub-treaties which are called protocols.
ចានេះគឺជាករណីមួយគឺសន្ធិសញ្ញាទីក្រុងឡាហេដែលបានបង្កើតឡើងនៅក្នុងឆ្នាំ1954គឺបានមានរួចមកហើយជាច្បាប់អន្តរជាតិហើយ
The second one on illicit traffic, there are two conventions. The UNESCO 1970 Convention and UNIDROIT 1995 Convention. We will speak about that tomorrow.
ចឹងច្បាប់ទី1ដែលបង្កើតឆ្នាំ1954ហ្នឹងគឺពាក់ព័ន្ធទៅនឹងការការពារបេតិកភណ្ឌវប្បធម៌នៅពេលដែលមានសង្គ្រាមហើយច្បាប់ទី2នៅក្នុងឆ្នាំ1970ហ្នឹងគឺពាក់ព័ន្ធទៅនឹងការចរាចរណ៍នៅបេតិកភណ្ឌវប្បធម៌នៅក្នុងប្រទេសនានា
Then there is the World Heritage Convention we will speak about this afternoon. It was adopted in 1972 and it protects Angkor, Preavihir, Sampo Precook and Kokera.
ហើយច្បាប់បេតិកភណ្ឌពិភពលោកដែលយើងនឹងធ្វើការវិភាគនៅពេលរុស្ស៊ីនេះគឺបង្កើតឡើងនៅឆ្នាំ1972គឺជាច្បាប់ទាក់ទងទៅនឹងការបង្កើតអាជ្ញាធរអប្សរាអាជ្ញាធរព្រះវិហារសម្បូរព្រះគុកផ្សេងៗនៅពេលដែលយើងចុះបញ្ជីបេតិកភណ្ឌមួយជាបេតិកភណ្ឌពិភពលោកយើងត្រូវឆ្លងកាត់នៅច្បាប់ឆ្នាំ1972
Then you have three other conventions: Underwater Cultural Heritage 2001, Intangible Cultural Heritage 2003, and Cultural Diversity 2005.
ចឹងហើយយើងមានច្បាប់3គឺច្បាប់ឆ្នាំ2001ទាក់ទងទៅនឹងបេតិកភណ្ឌនៅក្រោមទឹកច្បាប់ឆ្នាំ2003ទាក់ទងនឹងបេតិកភណ្ឌអរូបីហើយនិងឆ្នាំ2005គឺទាក់ទងទៅនឹងបេតិកភណ្ឌចម្រុះ
These conventions are what we call in law legally binding. That means that the countries are obliged to respect them. They are compulsory.
ច្បាប់ទាំង3នេះគឺពិតជាច្បាប់ដែលសំខាន់បំផុតហើយចាំបាច់តែត្រូវយកមកអនុវត្ត
There is sometimes even sanctions. For instance, a country which does not respect the protection of a world heritage, the sanction could be that the site loses its title of world heritage.
ដូចជាករណីប្រទេសមួយចំនួនដែលចុះបញ្ជីបេតិកភណ្ឌต้องការបានគោរពទៅតាមច្បាប់របស់ពិភពលោកដូច្នោះហើយគាត់មិនអាចបាត់បង់អំពីឈ្មោះជាបេតិកភណ្ឌពិភពលោក
But then there is another category of international law. It's what is called soft international law. Soft international law is not legally binding. Countries are not obliged to respect them. It is just advice, recommendation. And I gave you three examples. I'm calling your attention on the third one, the ICOMOS charters, namely the famous Venice Charter of 1964. That charter is not compulsory, but it contains good practices.
តែតាមទៅនឹងច្បាប់មួយទៀតដែលបង្កើតឡើងដោយ ICOMOS គឺវាមិនមែនជាច្បាប់ដែលត្រូវតែអនុវត្តដោយចាំបាច់តែខាងនោះទេប៉ុន្តែច្បាប់នេះបង្កើតឡើងដើម្បីជួយសម្របសម្រួលដើម្បីឲ្យតំបន់បេតិកភណ្ឌអនុវត្តទៅតាមរលូនជាការប្រឹក្សាយោបល់ដល់អ្នកជំនាញផ្សេងៗ
Now, what happens when there is no international law applicable? And in fact, I don't know if you're familiar with that picture, but it shows the site of Bamiyan in Afghanistan. Afghanistan, a few years ago, had joined none of these conventions. None of this convention was legally binding for Afghanistan because the government had not agreed to join them. So this site in Bamiyan is a very ancient Buddhist site, was not on the World Heritage List and was not protected by international law. So at a certain stage the government wanted to destroy it, and no one in the world could do anything to prevent the government to destroy that cultural heritage. So on the picture on the right side, you can see how it is now. In the meantime, things have changed, and Afghanistan have joined all these conventions. But it's too late, the site does not exist anymore. Things are now changing in the world regarding the international law for the protection of cultural heritage. And it is actually within the supreme body of the United Nations, which is the UN Security Council. The UN Security Council is a committee of states which meets regularly on issues regarding peace and war in New York. Yes, the world was shocked by the destruction of that World Heritage Site of Palmyra, has shocked the whole world. And worse than that, during the war in Syria, people started to destroy the ancient sculpture, like on that picture on the right. Syria. So the Security Council in New York decided to condemn the destruction of the cultural heritage and to ask every country in the world to help retrieve any kind of object that has been found on the market and coming from Syria. For instance, this object was retrieved by the French customs, and it was actually coming from that kind of monument. Another thing that happened now we're going to Africa, Mali. Mali has these two sites on the World Heritage List. There was a war, and one of these sites, the one on the right side, became like this.
នៅក្នុងកំឡុងពេលសង្គ្រាមរូបភាពដែលអ្នកបានឃើញស្អាតបែបនៅខាងស្ដាំហ្នឹងត្រូវបានបំផ្លាញយ៉ាងដូចនេះ
This has shocked the whole world, and again the UN Security Council condemned this destruction and considered it as a war crime.
ករណីនេះហើយជាទូនាទីរបស់ UN Security បានធ្វើការកិច្ចការងារនេះសម្រាប់សម្រួលរឿងនេះហើយបានចាត់ទុកថានេះគឺជាសង្គ្រាមអ៊ុក្រែននៃសង្គ្រាម
The UN Security Council also decided that this kind of war crime could be prosecuted by the International Criminal Court.
ហើយដូច្នោះហើយ UN Security Council បានចាត់ទុកថាសង្គ្រាមអ៊ុក្រែននៃសង្គ្រាមនេះគួរតែត្រូវបានបញ្ជូនយកទៅកាត់ទោសនៅក្នុង International Criminal Court តុលាការអន្តរជាតិ
So this is the famous Al-Mahdi case. So the gentleman on the drawing is Mr. Al-Mahdi, and he's the one who ordered the destruction of the World Heritage Site on the right slide. So Al-Mahdi was found guilty of a war crime. He was sentenced of 9 years of imprisonment and had to pay reparation for 2.7 million euro to the government of Mali.
ចឹងហើយលោក Al-Mahdi នេះដែលជាគេរកឃើញថាគឺជាបុគ្គលដែលបានរៀបចំកំណត់នៃសង្គ្រាមអ៊ុក្រែនសង្គ្រាមនេះហើយលោកត្រូវបានកាត់ទោសឲ្យជាប់គុករយៈពេល9ឆ្នាំនិងផាកពិន័យទឹកប្រាក់ 2.7 million euro.
This was a very important event because for the first time ever a military was actually condemned for having destroyed a cultural heritage.
ហើយនេះគឺជាព្រឹត្តិការណ៍ដ៏សំខាន់មួយដែលអ៊ុក្រែនជនត្រូវបានដាក់ទោសនៅក្នុងករណីនេះ
After that case, the UN Security Council also made a kind of more general statement. And they say that if in the future this kind of situation happens again, we will prosecute and we will send the case to the International Criminal Court again.
ហើយ UN Security ក៏បានបង្កើតលក្ខខណ្ឌបន្ថែមទៀតដែរថាបើសិនជាករណីដូចនេះដែរនឹងកើតឡើងនៅពេលនាពេលអនាគតបុគ្គលនោះនឹងត្រូវបានបញ្ជូនទៅតុលាការអ៊ុក្រែនជនអន្តរជាតិផងដែរ
So we're going now to the conclusion of this introduction about national law and international law, and by a few concluding messages. National law.
ចាឥឡូវនេះយើងចូលមកដល់ចំណុចសំខាន់បញ្ចប់ទាក់ទងទៅនឹងច្បាប់ជាតិហើយនិងច្បាប់អន្តរជាតិ
Adopting national law for the protection of cultural heritage is very important, but the implementation is even more important, and it's generally very challenging.
ការបង្កើតនៅច្បាប់ជាតិសម្រាប់ការពារបេតិកភណ្ឌគឺជារឿងចាំបាច់ប៉ុន្តែការអនុវត្តនៃច្បាប់នោះក៏រឹតតែសំខាន់
This afternoon we will speak about how to implement the World Heritage Convention international law in the case of Angkor, Preahir, Sambor Prikuk and Koke. All the challenges and the difficulties.
ហើយនៅក្នុងពេលរសៀលនេះយើងនឹងធ្វើការពិភាក្សាលម្អិតទាក់ទងទៅនឹងច្បាប់អន្តរជាតិនៅក្នុងការគ្រប់គ្រងបេតិកភណ្ឌវប្បធម៌របស់អាជ្ញាធរផ្សេងៗនៅក្នុងប្រទេសណាចក្រកម្ពុជាដូចជាអប្សរាព្រះវិហារ
The national law includes generally sanctions, but these sanctions, this punishment must of course be prosecuted and applied.
ច្បាប់ជាតិគឺជាក់ស្ដែងគឺមានការដាក់ទណ្ឌកម្មប៉ុន្តែអ្វីដែលសំខាន់នោះតើទណ្ឌកម្មនោះត្រូវបានយកមកអនុវត្តដែរឬទេ
On international law, what I can conclude at this stage is to say We have soft international law. You remember the Venice Charter. They are important, especially for architects, archaeologists, but they are not legally binding. It means that the countries are not obliged to apply them.
តែតាមទៅនឹងច្បាប់អន្តរជាតិដូចខ្ញុំបានលើកឡើងគឺដូចជា soft international law ដែលមិនមែនជាច្បាប់ត្រូវអនុវត្តចាំបាច់ទេណាប៉ុន្តែជាការផ្ដល់យោបល់សម្រាប់សម្លេងផ្សេងៗដែលត្រូវបានបង្កើតឡើង
But there are conventions which are legally binding and countries have to apply them, and they do if there is political will.
ប៉ុន្តែមានច្បាប់ដែលត្រូវតែប្រទេសត្រូវតែអនុវត្តតាមនោះហើយវាពាក់ព័ន្ធទៅនឹងនយោបាយនៃប្រទេសនោះ
Political will is very important because it is a fact that many countries join the convention and then, as we say, and then sit on it.
ស្ថានភាពនយោបាយគឺពិតជាមានសារៈសំខាន់ចំពោះការអនុវត្តច្បាប់អន្តរជាតិថាតើរដ្ឋាភិបាលនោះនឹងព្រមអនុវត្តតាមច្បា